listening to LSU Daily with Matt Musso, your home for all things LSU sports.
Off and running here on another edition of LSU Daily. Welcome in. Glad to have you with me. The Tigers defeat South Alabama convincingly 42-10 on Saturday night. Move their record to 4-1 on the season. They now head into their bye week, and we have a long time to talk about and set up a monster showdown with the Ole Miss Rebels, who also come in now with one loss. And boy, that adds just a whole nother level of intrigue to that matchup. But like I said, we have a lot of time to preview that one, and we will from every angle, including getting to take one more look at Ole Miss as they have to go on the road to South Carolina. Today, we recap LSU's victory over South Alabama and kind of look at that the first 5 games of the season. What have we kind of learned about this team as a whole, just very surface level, and we can dig deeper into that, of course, as the bye week goes along. Limited media opportunities with Brian Kelly, obviously this week with the Tigers off. He will meet with the media post-practice on Tuesday evening, and then he will have his appearance on the SEC Coaches Teleconference Wednesday morning, and that is all. Those are the only times we will hear from BK in structured media settings this week as the Tigers are off. LSU will be doing a lot of recruiting, obviously, on the bye week, a lot of self-scout, things of that nature. All right, we're going to go ahead and dive into the South Alabama game. But before we do, I'll remind you, like, subscribe, share, all of that greatly appreciated. Follow me on social media as well, at Musso Matthew on Twitter X. You can find me on Facebook, Instagram, all of it greatly appreciated. All right, let's dive in to LSU and South Alabama. One thing everybody wants to see, fast start. And not just on offense, right? Charles Handgriff and I talked about this at the end of the pregame show on Saturday. Starting fast doesn't just mean on offense. It's on both sides of the ball. You'd seen LSU's offense start fast plenty this season. They go right down the field against USC. Now, they went for it on 4th down. They didn't get it, but they went right down the field to open the game in that one. Obviously, against UCLA, right down the field, score the touchdown. You had fast start against Nichols. You had that safety, and then right when you got the ball, you went right down the field again. We had seen that. And boy, did you see it again on Saturday night. One play, 71 yards, the little swing pass to Caden Durham, and he was off to the races. That play is one that you could just sit there and watch on loop. It was so beautifully executed from a blocking standpoint, specifically Mason Taylor just driving that defensive back into the bench. Like, the blocks from your receivers, C.J. Daniels, I think the other one was Aaron Anderson, really sprung it, but Mason Taylor's what allowed it to go 71 yards with him just, again, driving another human into the sideline. It was incredible. And it didn't stop there offensively. Y'all, the spark that Caden Durham has provided this football team when they've needed it most, it's incredible. It started in that South Carolina game, and you saw big playability from him in that game, obviously, as well, and a lot of tough running. But it was only chunk plays from a guy like Caden Durham. Caden Durham led you to that fast start. Caden Durham touched the ball 4 times on LSU's first 6 plays of the game. They went for 71 yards and a touchdown, 86 yards down to the 1, 10 yards, and then 15 yards. Mixed in with that, you had a 1-yard touchdown run by Garrett Nussmeier and an incomplete pass by Garrett Nussmeier. For the large majority there of that first quarter, your offense was Garrett Nussmeier to Caden Durham. And it got you out, ultimately, to a 21-0 lead. Now, the other part of that is the nothing. And LSU's defense got off to their best start of the season against South Alabama. And while I'm not here to sit here and tell you that South Alabama is some juggernaut, because they're not. They're a 2-3 football team. Are they a good group of 5 team? Yes, they are. South Alabama's going to play in a bowl game. They're going to have a good chance to win that bowl game. Look, we'll see what kind of noise they can make in the Sun Belt Conference this year. I mean, they have two dynamic players on offense in Gio Lopez and Fluff Bothwell. Jeremiah Pritchard. South Alabama's got a really good group of 5 team that could probably win some games in the Sun Belt and is going to go to a bowl. So I'm not here to, completely dismiss South Alabama, but also South Alabama's a really good group of 5 team that their ceiling is going to be a bowl, and maybe they can compete to win their conference. Okay? But the one thing that was intriguing here was what they do well offensively had given you a lot of problems. And the two guys are dynamic. A guy like Gio Lopez, when he got the start in the bowl game for South Alabama and set the world on fire, he got offers from higher level schools out of the transfer portal, didn't take them. That's a really good quarterback. The running ability stands out, but he can really sling it as well. What I thought LSU did so well, obviously stopping the run, they were in position much better, because when I go back and I look at the running stats for South Alabama, I see 112 yards, 3.4 yards per carry. Their leading rusher in the ball game was the leading rusher in the ball game was Kentrell Bullock. Lopez, they held to 3.3 yards. Fluff Bothwell, they held to 1.7. And the majority of that from Lopez, watching the game live and then kind of going back and picking through some clips and whatnot, felt like it was on scrambles. LSU did a great job on the designed runs involving those two all night long. And even down like South Alabama was, they didn't abandon the run. South Alabama ended up running the ball more than they threw it in that game. Where they're down 35-3 at half, they're still feeding the rock and running it because it's what they do offensively. And you were on top of it all night long. And I do come away impressed with that because it's a scheme that had given a lot of people problems, and we have seen LSU just be out of position constantly in trying to stop the run. And for the most part on Saturday, they were tight. They were very tight in their fits. They were tight in assignment, and look what happened. You shut down a really, really good rushing attack from South Alabama. And you mix that together with dominance on offense, and you end up with a blowout win. And it was very refreshing to see. It was refreshing to have just a stress-free Saturday. Really, because it allowed a lot of us to watch Alabama and Georgia, which was an incredible game. So Caden Durham sets the tone. Your run defense sets the tone if you're LSU as well there in the ball game. You get the punt on South Alabama's first drive. You give up a quick first down, and then the defense just is stout. And it started with a big tackle from freshman Ahmad Bro, where I said you give up the quick first down, and then on 1st and 10, you have the 8-yard completion, and it feels okay. Here goes South Alabama. Here another slow start from the LSU defense, and then Ahmad Bro stops Kentrell Bullock behind the line for a loss of 3, puts him in 3rd and 5, and you bow up and stop a 1-yard run, and you get the football back, and then bam, it's the Caden Durham show again, and you're off. Then you're able to force a 3-and-out. Right after that, bam, another touchdown drive, I should say, for LSU, punctuated by the 8-yard run by Caden Durham. You saw the long completion to C.J. Daniels on that drive. You saw Aaron Anderson get his first touch on that drive, although it was called back by penalty. That was a personal foul on Will Campbell. And then I thought what was really big, too, was LSU holding South Alabama to that field goal early in the second quarter. The drive started into the first quarter, ended in the early in the second quarter. But it looked like they were really, for the first time, starting to gain the traction and put together a sustained drive. And LSU was able, once they kind of crossed midfield, to start limiting that success. And ultimately, you held them to a field goal. And then 5 more plays and another touchdown. What I loved about that 4th touchdown drive for LSU, that was, we saw another run play to Xavion Thomas, and it went for 26 yards, and I thought for a moment he was going to take it the distance. But big chunk plays there. And actually, it was Thomas that set that up in general. He had the 39-yard return on the kickoff that gave LSU its best starting field position of the night to that point, And then you had 2 chunk plays mixed in, the 25-yard completion to Lacey, the 26-yard run by Thomas, and then Garrett Nussmeier, y'all. Garrett Nussmeier on a quarterback draw, 5 yards easily into the end zone. I love that. That's all you need from Garrett Nussmeier. Now it's on tape that, okay, there's the potential for a design running aspect with him. I'm not going to sit here and tell you LSU's going to do that every single game, but that's something that a lot of people have been calling for, whether it's just a little quick quarterback draw, the quarterback sneak that you saw, him pulling the ball on a read every now and then. That is going to be huge going forward for LSU with 7 straight SEC games. So I loved seeing that. I loved seeing that as well. You'd have the one more touchdown in the half, and that was the post route. The post route to Aaron Anderson, but it was the throw that set that up. That long completion to Mason Taylor, his 100th reception in LSU history, and it also put him over 1,000 career yards, and it was arguably Garrett Nussmeier's best throw of the night. It was kind of like a full 4 verticals concept. Your tight end's going over the middle, and, I mean, go back and watch it. They showed the replay on the broadcast from behind the play. I mean, the window that Garrett Nussmeier threw that ball into to Mason Taylor, it is a Sunday throw. Like, there's just no other way around it. That is a Sunday throw, and it set up the huge one to Aaron Anderson for 23 yards. The one thing you look at with Nussmeier, the 2 interceptions, that was rough to see, but he's been great at protecting the football all year long, and if Garrett Nussmeier is going to have the 2 interception game, I'd much rather it come against South Alabama when you're up 35-3, heading into the half. He was trying to make a play at the end of the half with that first one, just on the run, rolling out, trying to get it, in between a corner and a safety. Just didn't put enough on the ball, and it got intercepted. The other one, honestly, looked like a bit of miscommunication in a sense. Lacey broke his route off, but maybe a little later than Nuss thought. The throw was a little bit behind him, and it was picked off that way and returned a little bit. But for the most part, y'all, Garrett Nussmeier was awesome. And again, if he's going to have the 2 interception game, I'd rather it against South Alabama, and not later in the year when it can really, really hurt you. One other thing I want to highlight on LSU's defense as a whole, and then we can get into some individual performances. I want to talk about Whit Weeks because I thought he had an incredible game, and you did see them move him around the defense. But when you start the first half, South Alabama goes right down the field, 9 plays, 75 yards, and they score a touchdown, make it 35-10. And then that's when you saw the second interception for Garrett Nussmeier, right? It was on the drive after that and deep into South Alabama territory. I don't quite believe it was in the red zone. It was right outside of the red zone, but it's deep in South Alabama territory. And they get the ball, they have the return off of that, and they start moving right down the field. You had a long completion from Gio Lopez down to the LSU 9-yard line. First down and goal. And it's like, okay, if they punch this in, they make it 35-17, and all of a sudden they have the momentum. Your quarterback has turned it over 2 possessions in a row. They have first and goal, and LSU just stonewalls the run. Goal line stand from the 9, get them all the way down to the 4, turn them away on 4th and goal, and then LSU takes it 99 yards and ices the football game. And that's been something we've seen a lot from this team early, is those long, sustained drives. We talked about the 2 90-plus yarders against UCLA where you were really able to salt the game away there in the third quarter. You just possessed it, to no end. LSU took over the drive with 4:47 left in the third quarter. They punctuated the touchdown with 14:08 left in the fourth. It was just a beautiful, beautiful drive for LSU. Put them up 42-10, and they never looked back. But that stand by the defense was huge. It was the complementary football that Brian Kelly wants to see. It's the complementary football that we've been asking for all season long. And that, I thought, was a perfect demonstration of that, where you have the goal line stand, you give it back to your offense, and they respond by going all the way the length of the field. I mean, that's ultimately what you want. That's an extreme example because you're not always going to drive the length of the field on people. This team's been pretty good at it. But it's just a very clear demarcation of, okay, they did it right there. They played complementary football right there. Whit Weeks. one play in particular stands out where I was like, okay, there it is. And it was on South Alabama's field goal drive. South Alabama's facing 3rd down 1 at the LSU 40. And they move Whit Weeks more kind of into that, for a lack of a better term, Harold Perkins role there on 3rd down. And he just blows through the line untouched and snags Fluff Bothwell for a loss of 1. Drops him down. Now, South Alabama would convert the 4th down and 2 that they went for. But seeing Whit Weeks flash and make that play, because I thought back, I'm like, man, Kelly talked about him playing in space and his ability in space being equal to Harold Perkins. And we talked about that on Friday's show. And I said, man, look, that's a mouthful. I'm not saying that he can't do it. I just want to see more of it to kind of believe it. That was a really good example of it on that play. And it was just part of a really big night as well for Whit Weeks. He finished with 9 stops, that TFL. He also had a pass defense, like all of that. TFL, pass defense, that is evidence of great play in space from him. So I was really kind of wanting to see that, really kind of trying to keep an eye on that. Those are just 2 examples that I saw that I said, okay, wait a minute. You do have something there. So definitely wanted to shout out Whit Weeks. Greg Penn was just all over the field. I mean, 18 it felt like damn near every stop on defense. And when you look at the book, he's got 14 tackles. So great play from your linebackers, man. When you really needed them to step up, they did in this ball game. You're going to need more of that, obviously, going forward. Thought there was great production in the LSU pass rush. It was very spread out. I mean, if you go back through the book, you're looking at 5 different guys that registered half a sack in the ball game for a total of 3 for LSU. That continues to be a bright spot there. So, look, just overview of this game. It was dominant. It was stress-free. Things that we wanted to keep an eye on, you saw. I mean, I don't know how you don't just continue to keep feeding Caden Durham at this point. You've now seen him pace this offense in 2 separate games. One against an SEC opponent, one against a Sun Belt opponent. So, I mean, you've seen the production against, power level and group of 5 level. 29 needs to touch the ball a lot. And, I mean, you saw for him in this game just 10 touches, but they were really productive 10 touches. And as I said, he paced your offense. Overall, I would tell you this game played out exactly how I expected it to, at least on offense. I pegged LSU at 41 points going into the game. They scored 42. Told you that Garrett Nussmeier was going to have a really big day against a secondary that had been torched often early in the year. And Garrett Nussmeier threw for 409 yards, a career high. And ultimately, that is why this game was never going to be in jeopardy for LSU. Real jeopardy for LSU. It's why LSU was never on upset alert, because their offense was just so far and away superior to anything that South Alabama had on defense. And you saw that play out. The surprise was LSU's defense playing as well as they did and against the run. And I thought, as we said kind of at the top of the show, we'll just reiterate it. I thought the discipline, I thought the fundamental play was better. Was it perfect? No. Did you have a couple guys get behind you in the secondary late? Yeah, you did. But that's going to happen, especially that can happen in blowouts from time to time where guys lose focus. There's still things to work on there. But I thought you did see improved play from LSU's defense against an offense that definitely has a chance to be dynamic. So, not even a chance, has shown the ability to be dynamic. It's a really good win. It's the best win you could hope for going into your bye because it was stress-free, because you just went out there and dominated. They got off to the fast start. They sustained it throughout. And you got a lot of guys playing time, and you came out of the game healthy. And that is massive, especially for this team with the injuries that you had been seeing. You came out relatively healthy heading into your bye week where you can get even more healthy and continue to work on the things that are ailing you. But you did see improvement over the last 2 weeks from LSU. And I tell you, defensively, I'm not going to sit here and tell you they're about to go out there and just dominate against Ole Miss, because I don't think that they are. That's a really good offense. But I do like LSU's ability that we've seen early in the season to possess the ball in that game, just like you saw Kentucky do on Saturday. I look at an LSU defense and I see 6 quarters. You've given up 10 points in your last 6 quarters. That's really good. You're going to take the step up in competition, but that's good and that's improvement. I mean, coming out of that South Carolina game, you ever think there was going to be a stretch this season of that? No. Competition matters, but that's improvement going forward, and that's something that you can build on. So you've seen signs. You've seen the run game improve as well over the course of the season. A lot of that has to do with Caden Durham and Josh Williams. But a lot of that also has to do with LSU, running behind their tackles a little bit more now instead of trying to go up the middle. It's one way you're getting those yards when you have to have them on the ground now. You look at the 86-yard run by Caden Durham, that was C-gap. The touchdown run at the end of the game by Josh Williams, C-gap. So there has been improvement. And thank goodness. Because now you look at a showdown coming up in 2 weeks with a lot on the line for both teams. Neither team has a margin for error now, with both of them coming in one loss at 4-1. We'll have plenty of time to talk about it, and I'm looking forward to doing so. Y'all smash the like button, get subscribed up to the podcast. If you have not already, share the podcast too as well. That's greatly appreciated. Follow me on social media. Be here next time for more on LSU Daily.